Hi guys, it's Vineet here once again, and today I want to share my story about business. So, I've been uncovering something over the last few days. As many of you know, I run a company called Natural Business where we teach creative intelligence to business owners so that they can tap into the answers and solutions so that they can get the results that they want in their business. And something which I've been pondering over the last few days is around my story of being in business. So, what is your childhood story about business? And what I mean is that we all have stories that we created or were created in our minds when we were kids. And we have a story about relationships, we've had a story about work, business, all aspects of life. And the story that we carry or that we create as kids or that we experience often has an effect or impact upon the results that we create as adults. And if we've had negative stories that have been created in our childhood about anything, then it will create negative experiences in that arena as adults. And if we don't make the unconscious story conscious, then we'll call it fate, as the saying goes. So, what is your childhood story that you associate to business and the business world, being in business? Because I know many of you that are friends of mine are business owners. And many people that I work with are business owners, obviously. So, what's your story? What's your childhood story about business? What did you learn from your parents? Because your struggles in business in your adulthood may be the result of your childhood association to business. And I'll share my story. And then feel free to maybe share something about your childhood story in the comment box. As a child, I remember learning from my father. And once again, I'm not here to blame my parents. And there is no need for us to blame anyone. Because ultimately, when we blame, we are not taking responsibility. But this is the story that was created for me. In my childhood, I learned that businessmen were crooks. I learned that business happens in almost a shady way. Business happens, businessmen or the people that run businesses, they're an elite. They're a special kind of folk. I learned that I am not from a business family. In my family, everyone had jobs. My parents came from India, so I'm first generation born in the UK. And I learned from my parents that having a professional career was what I was born to do, born to have. Not business, because my family didn't come from business. So it wasn't in my genes to be a business person. I learned that I wasn't capable of being a businessman because I wasn't born into a business family, right? So I didn't have it. I learned that I wasn't born into it, I didn't have the nous to actually be a business person. And the truth of it is that I've been in business for the last 10 to 12 years now. And at times it's been a struggle. At times it's been a struggle. And I've often asked myself, why is it that I struggle and some business people don't? And something that's been dawning upon me over the last few days is, what is the story that we learned about business? As I said to you, I learned that business is a shady affair. I remember my dad saying, oh, we don't know how to fiddle the books. We don't know how to save tax. They do, right? Actually, the biggest thing I learned was, on an unconscious level, it was like, business people are bad people, but I'm a good person, right? I'm a good person. So I grew up trying to be a good person throughout my life. And I would pride myself upon being a good human being, caring for others. But that was in opposition to what I learned about what business is. So often in my life, I've been stuck with feelings of shame and guilt in business, asking for what I want, because unconsciously I associate businessman equals bad person. And then there's these emotions attached to it. And it's taken, I've had to really excavate over the last 12 years. The success that I've had more and more over the last 12 years, part of it has come down to letting go of those stories, letting go of the story that I adopted of what it means to be a businessman. Because I'm not a bad person. And a businessman or woman is not a bad or good person. They're just doing what they're doing, right? If we transcend the labels that we put onto things, then we can create what we want without friction. And part of the reason that I'm really sharing this with you, I want you to, if you watch this, I want you to really write your story down. What did you learn in your childhood? And I would encourage you to do a bit of automatic writing, as they call it. Set the intention that you want to know what is the unconscious story that you learnt about being a business person. Set the intention and then just start to write without thinking. Don't think, just write. And you'll be surprised if you take yourself into an altered state, you will tap into an unconscious story that maybe you weren't even aware of. And let that come to the surface. Let that come to the surface, because that which comes to the surface is no longer unconscious. When it's conscious, it's a choice, and we can choose to let it go. And finally, the reason that this is so important is because my work at Natural Business is with business leaders and business owners, entrepreneurs, etc. And I find often that there is a problem that exists amongst business owners. And that is, we abdicate responsibility. And what I mean by that is, we as business owners are quick to hire experts, consultants, advisors, mentors, etc. They're going to have the elixir that's going to transform our business. And more often than not, it does not transform our business. Not that it's even their fault. It's actually our story, our unconscious, that prevents us from taking that next step. And more importantly than even that, is when we move the story out the way and we start removing the blinkers, we then have access to what I call your creative intelligence. Your creative intelligence is the example that I always give is nature has creative intelligence. The acorn to become an oak tree, the acorn contains within it a creative intelligence for it to become an oak tree. And you and me, us human beings, are part of nature, and we also have a creative spirit within us that can help us to create what is true for us to create. And when we remove the story out the way, we let go partly of this dependency upon the external world to give us answers and solutions. We no longer look for validation. Therefore, we start listening to this creativity that we harbor within ourselves. And then it comes and it starts to bubble. And then we start to listen to our intuition and our instinct in the way that we're going to create our business in the world. So I want to encourage you to become aware of the unconscious story around business that you took on board as a child. And behind that, I want you to start paying attention to the creativity that's behind there. Because creation is your birthright, and you can create anything in your life because you are a creator. And finally, if you're a business owner, if you are the sort of person that tends to abdicate responsibility and you're always looking for the experts to give you answers, and you have a successful business, shall we say, or maybe a semi-successful business, yet you know that you want to tap into yourself for those answers and solutions that will allow you to be able to get results in your business and tap into that creative intelligence that I'm talking about, then I call upon you to send me a message or get in contact via naturalbusiness.org. And I'll be happy to serve you, to show you that you have the creative intelligence within you to create anything. But it often first begins by letting go of the story, the egoic story that we carry, so that we can tap into this intelligence to then be able to act on it to create what we're here to create. Thank you for listening. I'm very grateful that you have heard me out. Have a great day. Over and out.